Our next contributor is Miriam Burstein.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to take this time to thank Professor Mushi. Because of her, I'm up here. I'm a returning student. I was a student here back in 1987. And when I came back, she was my first teacher I took, which was English 101. And because of her, my love for school changed completely, because I paid for my Fs back then. When I came back, I was an academic restriction. So now I made the dean's list, so with a learning disability. And every day, I thank an incredible woman like Professor Mushi. So I'm going to be reading a story about the Burstein adventure. It's a story about my family, and especially my son, who battled with cancer. It was the spring of 1994. Who would have known that I was going to meet my husband? Around this time, I used to work long hours, and during my breaks, would sleep in the closet in the assistant manager's office. The manager allowed this because I was one of the top salespeople at Bally Total Fitness. Today I met my husband, Hal. He was sitting in the office where I was sleeping. Hal is a CPA. He was sitting stiffly in a chair facing the closet. He was there to do my manager's taxes. That's when the front desk called me for the next tour. I quickly stood up, came out of the closet, and saw Hal. He looked shocked. After my tour, I invited Hal into my office and talked his ear off. We quickly became friends and spoke frequently. I made the first move. I called him and had him ask me out to the movies. When Hal came over to pick me up, I could see my parents liked him because my father offered him dinner. My father is an intimidating man when you see him at first, but he is a big teddy bear to me. When my family offers you food, that means they like you. They had never done that before with anyone else that I had brought home. Most of the time, my father had them stand in the corner near the door, if they were allowed inside at all. What they liked about Hal was that he looked formal and serious. Hal was not the type of guy I normally would date. I usually would go out with guys who were athletic-looking, president of companies. Most of them could not deal with my family. Hal, on the other hand, was a good listener. Open-minded, and most important, my family liked him. Hal was formal, rigid, and a bit stiff at first. When Hal met me, he did not know his life would change either. My family isn't originally from Bolivia. I was born in Cochabamba. I am the youngest of 4 children. We moved to America because my father was invited by a large American company to work in the United States. The entire family was given green cards. I was raised in a very strict environment. I was not allowed to do much since I was a girl and the baby in the family. My brothers were protective of me. Carlos is the oldest. Growing up, he played soccer, even played professionally. In the later years, went into hosting on Spanish radio. My brother Ramiro studied hard all through school. And when he found God, he became the church lady from Saturday Night Live. My third brother, Ronald, was like a character from The Sopranos. His nickname was Fat Tony or El Gordo. He was the life of the party and had a huge heart. Once Hal and I became friends, I tried to set him up with other women. He would go on dates, but nothing ever stuck. I used to ask myself, why couldn't I find someone like him? It was Valentine's Day. Hal called and asked what I was doing. I did not have a date, so he invited me out. We had a fabulous dinner, and it was then when I realized that I had real feelings for him. I noticed that that formal, rigid, and bit stiff guy was for me. I couldn't be myself around him. He would make me laugh all the time, but the biggest thing that I fell for his mind, and his massages. On St. Patrick's Day, we became a couple. Then May, we got engaged in Las Vegas. Hal had not asked my father for permission yet. So afterwards, he took my parents and me to Red Lobster. At dinner, Hal asked my father for my hand. My father turned to my mother and had a 10-minute conversation in Spanish. I translated Hal's questions for my parents. They said, "We know, we understand what he said." I felt extremely awkward. Finally, they gave us their blessing. However, they had some conditions. I had to finish school, and he had to be patient with me since I've never lived away from home. It was a bright, sunny day in June, and Hal was being introduced to the rest of my family at a huge barbecue. I felt bad because they were giving him the third degree. One of my uncles, who was over 6 foot tall, and my brother, El Gordo, were talking to Hal. "You seem to be a nice guy, and I just want to let you know," my uncle said, "that we love my niece. She's very special to the family, especially to me. If you ever make her cry, I'll kill you." He laughed, and then he said, "Just kidding." My brother said, "We mean it. Hurt my baby sister, and I will hurt you." Hal took it with stride. My mom was a talented, creative, and beautiful. She was my best friend and was always there for me when I needed her. When I participated in pageants, she would design my gowns and costumes. Now, for my wedding, she took my Miss Maryland crown and transformed it into a beautiful veil. One day while I was shopping, we saw 7 red gloves. We decided to buy all 7 pairs, and that I should have even 7 bridesmaids because that is our lucky number. The problem was I did not have 7 close female friends. I knew a few drag queens, and I had many male friends, but I had to search for 7 bridesmaids. I looked up all old school and college friends. Mother was always there when Hal and I were in a disagreement over some of the wildest ideas for the wedding. Mom always got me to see the idea was outrageous, and that I should have a more traditional wedding. After my mother intervened, there was no argument. But our wedding was a combination between of my big fat Greek wedding and birdcage. My entire family attended. The Bolivian president tried to come, but because of security, he was not able to stay. Merging two different cultures provided a success. We had both a live band and a DJ because both grandmothers would say, it's not a wedding if you don't have them. Decades later, people still talk about the wedding day and how fun it was. A couple of years sped up, and we enjoy our share of wacky adventures. Then our next adventure started when we were blessed with our first birth of our first child, Brandy, a darling little princess. But through the 36 hours of induced labor just to have a C-section because she did not want to come out. That was the sign of her entire life, doing things on Brandy's time. I, being a workaholic salesperson that I was, still was able to sell memberships on the telephone while in labor. Brandy was about 18 months old when my grandmother died. My family flew to Bolivia per my grandmother's wishes. While there, we discovered I was pregnant with Brian. What gave it away was that I ate an entire plate of meat that was plated for 4 people. I also started to look like Mrs. Puff from SpongeBob. I seem to be very accident prone during Brian's pregnancy. I fell at my parents' house. I cut my finger on the fruit cocktail, and I had a minor car accident, just a few of many calamities. I felt like I was in labor for a month when Brian was finally born. He was the first boy on my side of my family. After 7 daughters from my brothers, there wasn't going to be anyone to carry the Fernandez name. That is why I named him Brian Fernandez Burstein. Brian was so smart, introduced computers at an early age. I started Brian preschool at the age of 2, so his mind could be challenged and developed quicker. At that age of 3, Brian attended Montessori school with Brandy. Brandy blossomed there since she was a visual learner. Brian, on the other hand, was quite a handful. He learned the combination to the security locks of the gates and led the kids to the school playground. The school considered that Brian was not a Montessori material. Hal and I were both 38 when we got rid of all the baby stuff. Brandy was 5, Brian was 3. We thought our family was complete. Surprise! We found out that we were going to have a 3rd child, Patrick. Patrick is the youngest of my children. His pregnancy was an adventure because of my age, mine was considered geriatric pregnancy. And the entire staff support me. My baby, my 3 female doctors support me and my baby. 3 female doctors, 4 critical care doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, a driver, and a personal trainer. I became a gestational diabetic and insulin dependent. I was hospitalized and put on a very strict diet. My family took turns in taking care of me. Since Hal was in tax season, Mom would say, that's what family does. After having my 3 babies, I thought everything was just getting back to normal. However, my mother's health took a downturn, and I started to have pains in my lower back and my stomach. We had no idea what was to come up next. So you continue reading, you'll know what came up next. So I like to thank my family, and my son, just to let you know, is cancer-free. Thank you so much. Thank you.